Cosmic here, and welcome back to another Battle Spirits Saga video. And today we're going to talk about what happened this past week, and this will probably be the format going forward. So because we are waiting for spoiler season to start, because we're waiting for those early adopter kits to get to your local game store, there's not going to be a lot to cover, and I'm not going to make a video just to make a video. So until we know more, as I mentioned in my last video, every Friday we'll have an update, and we have some spicy updates to talk about. But first, perhaps a little bit of a selfish note, I am going to confirm that in Michigan, we have 2 stores that are signed up and good to go for the early adopter program. More info coming out this in the following weeks or whenever we get to make those official announcements. But what this means is for the channel, we will be doing a series of openings for those kits themselves, talk about the promo packs, and we'll likely be doing some giveaways as well for the promo packs and some of the other swag that comes in those kits, because there's a lot for our area that we're going to get in those kits. And it's really something, it's a celebration of the game, right? So things like the lore books or the guidebooks, whatever they're going to end up being, I'm going to try to get a couple to do a giveaway with, but we'll see what Bandai allows us to do and what kind of direction they take with it. But hopefully, fingers crossed, good news there. So that said, let's talk about the actual big news today and what's happened over the last couple of days, particularly on Twitter. Now, yes, there's a little bit of a joke going around with all the Twitter drama happening, and oh my God, the office might be closing and Twitter's burning down and all that, but let's just assume, get that out of the way, and everything's going to be fine. Let's just continue on with that. But what's really interesting is, especially with some of the other things that they've been tweeting lately, is the Battle Spirits Saga social media person has already been more active in the respective time that the account has been around in just this past week than their One Piece account, Dragon Ball account, and their Digimon account, like all combined. One thing that Bandai and other Japanese trading card games, to be fair, what they're known for is not communicating with their players. And this could be, when is an errata coming? What Flesh and Blood does very well, for example, is they'll tell you when the next banned and restricted announcement is. They'll give you these heads up and when to expect certain news articles that are going to either directly impact play or maybe organized play announcements, what have you, right? So they've been really great at establishing that level of trust with their players and communication. That's really, really important. And now we have Battle Spirits Saga just doing full-on memes. Like there's this other part that we're going to get to later on where they're asking for a banana for scale, which was really interesting. But again, this is fun. It's lighthearted, and it really does, hopefully, pave the way for a new type of relationship that Bandai is going to have with its player base. And I can only speak for Digimon because that's what I've been playing more recently. We have sorely missed it. There's been a massive, massive lack of communication on when certain promos were happening. We're finally getting the security cards. So obviously, I'd hope that this would happen overall for Bandai, right? For all their games. But it does seem like they are taking a very different approach for Battle Spirits Saga. And it fills me with hope, because even during my time with Force of Will, again, for those that don't know, I was the head judge of North America for the first year and a half or whatever it was. And I did some stuff behind the scenes. And while, yes, I was lucky to get some inside information, we were never allowed to share that with the broader community. And it always created this very feels bad moment where there is important information that we should share, right? That players should know about, but we have to wait until X, Y, or Z happens so we can tell others. So obviously, for the content creator program, which at this time I am not in, just to be very clear, I'm not in at all. But there is a couple people we're going to be talking about here shortly who are in it, are getting special stuff from Bandai, and I'm sure know more about the game, but obviously can't share it yet. Now, that's to be expected. They probably have a whole marketing cycle that they want to go through. But again, I think what happened in just these last few days is so important. It was worth calling out and really addressing how different this is from not only what we've seen with Bandai already with their other games, but also just Japanese trading card games as a whole for those who might not be familiar. So if anyone's been familiar with what Bushiroad or Force of Will or some of the other companies have been doing compared to now, like this really is big news and definitely gives you quite a bit of hope that this communication will not only continue, but they'll continue to work with the community directly, right? It's not just, okay, hey, let's do the Flesh and Blood style announcement's going to be on X date. The other thing that Flesh and Blood really does well is directly interact with their players. And I'm mentioning Flesh and Blood a lot, but I really do strongly believe, based on the tournaments that we've seen, the plan for tournaments, I should say, based on how the Twitter is interacting and how the community is coming together with it, I feel there's going to be a very strong correlation between what Flesh and Blood did and the success that they had, and Battle Spirits Saga also monitoring that and trying to follow in that same success, which by all accounts should work very well for them. Now, that said, probably a more exciting news, and again, this is supposed to be more of a weekly recap for maybe some people that missed it, a random tweet or what have you, or maybe there's a Facebook announcement or a Twitter update or a website update. I really just want to have a nice video once a week to cover everything that you might have missed, and then in the future, we'll do like meta reports and things like that for people who know me from my Legends of Runeterra time. I love doing data reports and putting nice graphics together and all that stuff, but there was some really exciting news, and everyone knows this card. If you just ignore what the this is a test print. Let me say that very clearly and very quickly. That's why there's a cost reduction of 6 when there's only a cost of 4. Right? They're just filling up those bips to see how it fit on the card. But if you zoom in and you pay attention very quickly as to what this effect is, this is Burst Wall. This is actually a very exciting. Maybe leak, maybe not. Now, again, it's not official spoiler season, so this is nothing but speculation. Obviously, this card is not final, and not, red flag right away, but I'm hoping this means that we do see Burst Wall pretty early on, as it is such a core design card of Battle Spirits that it would make sense if it appears in Battle Spirits Saga pretty early. But, I'm not going to steal all of these other content creators' thunder. Please make sure to go check them out. I'm only using this as an example, but if you are curious to know learn how to play Battle Spirits Saga, please make sure to go check out Hoang 0. They did a wonderful video on their YouTube, and there's also a little treat at the end, which me being the yellow player was obviously very excited about, but there's some other good details to not be missed. But the one thing I do want to call out here that I am so thankful for, and I believe I mentioned this in the demo game or maybe one of the other videos, but I was so heartbroken that this little symbol right here, Burst, was missing from Landmine in the demo deck. And I believe, if I remember correctly in his video, the Burst symbol was still missing. So obviously very early test print. They're demo decks. They're not final. And we've kind of been saying that quite a bit. And there's definitely been some very rightful pushback on how the cards were templated, how the font appeared, right? It was very hard to read. And very quickly, two things. One, Burst being back, I strongly believe is huge. That's just such a key part of the card that I felt was missing. But then also, if we look at the font, it's a much cleaner font and also has a very bold outline, so it's very easy to read. Now, again, I have to keep saying it because I don't want people to take the wrong impression from this, but these cards are not final. They're subject to change, etc., etc. But I think overall, for what we have here from a full art design, I think that I know a lot of people are going back and forth on the cost reduction. It's not like the six-sided shape anymore where it's in a circle. I guess it's basically a circle that had. Now it's a straight line. There's a lot of back and forth on that, but I think this is okay, right? These are the cost reduction symbols that are meant to be more of a quick glance and something you forget about because you generally only care about them when you play the card. Once they're in the field, then you just care about the cost reduction attribute that it gives, which is again located in the bottom right corner, which is often just one symbol. So I think that this is a great step forward. I really hope this is close to the final product because I think this would be a really great way to showcase some of the common, uncommon, and rares because as you might remember, this is new for Battle Spirits Saga that we are getting foiled of the lower rarity cards where normally it's just X rares, special rares, and top rares that would normally have those textured foils. And that said, we also got a very interesting surprise by Red Zone Rogue, a friend of the channel. And I don't want, again, not going to steal his thunder. Go check out his Twitter where you can see a nice video of these, but they're I didn't want to crop them out of the photo because it would have made a really awkward crop for this that I want to mention. But he does a wonderful job of just showing the textured foiling that we can expect. Now, again, these are all test prints. You can see they have the 6 cost reduction for a 3 cost spell. If you know anything about Battle Spirits, the names don't match the cards and the artworks are from some promos. So again, don't read into these test print cards themselves, but really just get an idea of what does the overall template look like? Does the font look better? Does the cost reduction pips, fit into that bar? And all that really looks great. I think they've done a wonderful job moving on from the demo decks to now what we have from just, again, test print previews. I'm feeling pretty confident that spoiler season should start late December, early January, which would line up very well with the March cash events that we know are going to be happening. What's interesting here, though, and again, I mentioned that tweet from Battle Spirit Saga that they're just memeing about it, but we do have a picture of these cores and soul cores. Again, the red one is your soul core that is generally used for strong once per turn effects. Later on, there'll be cards to get it back from the trash so you can recycle it and, get multiple effects per turn if you have cards that enable it to do so. Different video, different time. But really, at a quick glance, these do look bigger. Unfortunately, both Red Zone Rogue and Hoang Zero didn't have the Japanese Battle Spirits cores on them, so they couldn't do a comparison. But even just at a quick glance, they do look bigger, which truthfully, if you go back to my very first video I started when I was covering Battle Spirits Saga, I think the cores do need to be a little bit bigger. The blue one specifically. Now the Soul Core, I am a little bit upset about, honestly. I loved the like silver outline that really made it stand out. And maybe I'm just a bit biased there because I watched the anime. They did a really great job of showing how important it was. It really sticks out on the field. That said, I mean, it's a red versus blue. It's obviously going to stick out well enough on its own. But I do hope that perhaps in the future, we might get special soul cores, obviously that have to remain red. That's a key point. But I would really like to see the Japanese Battle Spirits soul cores come back in some way, or maybe just a remodified version of them. I don't believe they've ever done that in Battle Spirits, so it would be a new thing for them to explore. But again, maybe still fingers crossed if we go about it. So hopefully in the near future, Bandai, if you're out there, if you want to send me some soul cores so I can do a comparison photo like this one above that shows off, here's your soul core, here's your core, your soul core, a mini D6 and a D6. I think that would help a lot of people just understand what the relative size is. But again, I think it's a very smart move by them to increase the overall size because they were kind of annoying to move around a little bit. I'll be honest, just from maybe it's just because I have big meaty hands and it's hard to, I don't have the agility that I used to. But it's nice to see a little bit more detail to them so they're easier to move around the field, especially if you're playing like green when we get green in set 2 or set 3, we're just constantly moving cores around and basically just dumping them onto the field. So I'm really curious to see where this is going to land. But overall, I think it's going to be a net positive change in that regard. And then the last thing, which sparked a lot of debate, and a disclaimer, huge disclaimer, like pause the video, timeout. I am excited for the idea of collabs, but I do not want them in the first year. And what I really mean when I'm saying first year, I am just stating a longer time period. It could be 1 year, it could be 3 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. I do not want to see collabs early in Battle Spirits Saga life. However, if you follow me on socials and if you follow kind of the history of Battle Spirits, collabs are pretty important to the game. So they've had a very wide variety of them. But again, I think for Battle Spirits Saga to be successful, they really need to build out their core IP and make sure they don't run into arguably the issue that they're having in the Japanese Battle Spirits right now, where we are literally going through 3 set previews at the same time right now, which is just way too much. Now, again, if we think about that, it's like Tiger and Bunny versus Gundam versus the next main set, you probably don't care about 1 or 2 of those. So at least you have something to buy and update your decks, because there are people who play collabs and nothing else. And guess what? That's totally fine. Collabs should be a way to celebrate the game together with new fans, because I've been just getting hammered with requests because I apparently just know a lot of people that love Gundam. They're like, do you think Gundam's coming to Battle Spirits Saga? Do you think that they're going to do it? Because Bandai has all the rights for it. It'd be very, very easy for them to have a Battle Spirits Saga collab with Gundam very early on. And again, it's hard to say because traditionally, we have Weiss and things of that nature, but those sets can either be very hit or miss, which is ultimately going to be a gamble for those companies. Now, obviously, with Witch from Mercury, Gundam is having this kind of like, I don't want to say like this massive rebirth and this be misleading, but there's certainly a renewed interest in the Gundam universe. And I think that a Witch set could be, it would sell very well. I just strongly believe that. But again, that means that they would probably have to do it within the first couple sets, and I do not want that. However, me being the good old data person, I just threw it out to the Twitter void and decided to say, hey, how do you feel about it? And 50, just under 50%, that's fine, but look how many people said no. We have 32%, and yes, I included indifferent and C results just to kind of filter out some of those middling clicks, just to get the most pure representation of it. But I think this is a pretty good sign that we would actually stand to lose some of our audience if we push out collabs too early. And I got a lot of not nice things thrown my way for this appearance that I was pushing collabs. But again, it's impossible to ignore the importance that collabs had in Battle Spirits and what that likely means for Battle Spirits Saga future. So again, I say 1 year because it's just the easiest time to default to. It could be 3 years. It could be five years. I really don't care. All I want is to see Bandai explore and build up their core IP first and then move on to the other thing. I want mainline boosters to be the main focus because I think that will be the most important thing for building the brand, building the success, and making sure that the game sticks around. So that is our weekly update for Battle Spirit Saga this week. How do you feel about collabs? Do you like the increased size? Well, approximate increased size of the soul cores. What are you most excited about for this week in news? And as always, hopefully next Friday we'll have more news to talk about, and if I make another video, we'll make another video. Again, I'm not someone who's just going to make a quick video of like, a 2-minute video, say, hey, here's a tweet that we got, and then be done with it. I want to make sure there's something to talk about in these weekly updates so we can make sure we're staying on top of everything and keeping it all together in one video instead of having to chunk it out every single week. I don't have time for that, at least right now, so I want to try to throw everything in one video where I can. So with that, happy Friday, everyone. Hopefully you have a wonderful weekend. Kudos to everyone playing Pokemon out there this weekend. May all your Pokemon be shiny, and I'll catch you on the next Battle Spirits Saga video. Cheers.